August 8, 1963, rural England. 15 men stopped a Royal Mail train in the middle of the night. They stole £2.6 million in used banknotes. It was the biggest cash robbery in British history at the time. The gang celebrated at Leatherslade Farm, their hideout. They played Monopoly with the actual stolen money. A cleaner they hired to clean the farm tipped off police instead. Fingerprints were found everywhere across the farm. Most gang members were arrested within weeks. Ronnie Biggs was among those convicted and sentenced to 25 years. The ringleader, Bruce Reynolds, was hunted for 5 years before capture. Of the £2.6 million stolen, only £400,000 was ever recovered. The rest was never found. Playing Monopoly with stolen money left fingerprints that ended everyone's freedom. February 2003, Antwerp, Belgium. A gang broke into the Antwerp Diamond Center over a weekend. They bypassed one of the most sophisticated vault systems in the world. They stole diamonds, gold, and jewels worth over $100 million. It was called the Heist of the Century by the international press. The gang leader, Leonardo Notarbartolo, had rented an office in the building for 3 years. He posed as an Italian diamond merchant to gain access. During the getaway, the gang made one fatal mistake. They left their garbage in a forest outside Antwerp. Police found a half-eaten sandwich with Notarbartolo's DNA on it. The entire plan unraveled because of a sandwich. Notarbartolo was arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Most of the diamonds were never recovered. A $100 million heist undone by lunch. Easter weekend, 2015, London, England. A gang of elderly thieves broke into Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Limited. The ringleader was 76 years old. Several members were in their 60s. They drilled through a concrete vault wall over 2 nights. They stole jewels, cash, and valuables worth up to £14 million. The gang celebrated at their local pub and talked openly about the heist. They used their real phones throughout the entire operation. Police tracked them through mobile phone signals and CCTV footage. All 4 core members were arrested within months. The ringleader, Brian Reeder, pleaded guilty and was jailed. Most of the stolen goods were never recovered. Britain's most audacious burglary was solved because pensioners used their own phones. The average age of the gang was 65 years old. March 18, 1990. Boston, Massachusetts. 2 men dressed as police officers knocked on the museum's door at 1:23 a.m. A young security guard buzzed them in without calling for backup. The thieves handcuffed both guards to pipes in the basement. Over 81 minutes, they stole 13 artworks worth $500 million. The stolen works included paintings by Vermeer, Rembrandt, and Degas. No one has ever been charged with the theft. The thieves were never identified, despite a $10 million reward. The empty frames still hang in the museum today as placeholders. It remains the largest art theft in history. The FBI has named suspects over the years, but made no arrests. The artworks have never been recovered. 34 years later, the greatest art heist in history remains completely unsolved. August 2005, Fortaleza, Brazil. A gang rented a property near the Banco Central and posed as a landscaping company. Over several months, they tunneled 250 feet underground toward the bank vault. They entered the vault from below on a Friday night. They stole 160 million Brazilian reals, approximately $70 million. It was the largest bank robbery in Brazilian history. The gang initially escaped completely and vanished. Police began investigating and arrested several suspects months later. The arrests triggered a wave of violence. Gang members began killing each other. At least 3 people connected to the heist were murdered by their own associates. Much of the money was recovered, but only after multiple deaths. The gang that pulled off the perfect heist destroyed itself from within. Greed turned the perfect crime into a bloodbath. December 2008, Paris, France. 4 men dressed as women entered the Harry Winston jewelry store on Avenue Montaigne. They were armed and forced staff to fill bags with jewelry. The robbery took less than 15 minutes. They stole jewelry worth €80 million, one of the largest jewelry thefts in history. The gang was connected to the notorious Pink Panthers International Jewel Thief Network. French police launched a massive investigation across multiple countries. One by one, the gang members were identified through surveillance footage. Several were arrested in France, Serbia, and across Europe. The ringleader received a 15-year prison sentence. Most of the jewelry was never recovered. The Pink Panthers network continued operating across the world. Dressing as women did not save them from surveillance cameras. February 2006, Tunbridge, England. A gang kidnapped the manager of a Securitas cash depot and his family. They used the manager to gain access to the facility. Inside, they tied up 14 members of staff. They stole £53 million in cash, the largest cash robbery in British history. The gang spent weeks planning and had inside information about the depot, but they left enormous amounts of forensic evidence throughout the scene. Police tracked them through phone records, DNA, and CCTV. The ringleader, Lee Murray, fled to Morocco after the robbery. Morocco refused to extradite him because he held dual citizenship. Most of the gang were convicted and sentenced to over 20 years each. Only £21 million of the £53 million was ever recovered. Lee Murray remains in a Moroccan prison, never extradited to Britain. The largest cash robbery in British history ended with almost everyone behind bars. May 2010, Paris, France. A lone thief broke into the Paris Museum of Modern Art in the early hours. He cut a padlock on a window and entered the building alone. In under an hour, he stole 5 paintings worth €500 million. The stolen works included Picasso, Matisse, Modigliani, Braque, and Leger. It was the largest museum theft in French history. The thief was a small-time criminal named Viérin Tomic. He had no plan for what to do with the paintings after stealing them. His accomplice panicked and destroyed 4 of the 5 stolen paintings. They were burned in a rubbish bin to eliminate evidence. €500 million worth of irreplaceable masterpieces were burned in a bin. Tomic was arrested and sentenced to 8 years in prison. 4 of the 5 stolen masterpieces were destroyed forever. The greatest cultural loss in modern French history happened because someone panicked. February 2005, Amsterdam, Netherlands. A gang dressed as KLM airline workers drove a stolen KLM van onto the airport tarmac. They intercepted a cargo transfer and stole a shipment of diamonds. The diamonds were worth $118 million. The robbery took less than 5 minutes on the tarmac. The gang escaped into Amsterdam before airport security could respond. It appeared to be the perfect crime, fast, precise, and completely professional. Dutch police launched a massive international investigation. The gang had an insider, a KLM employee who fed them the shipping information. The insider was identified and arrested first. His arrest led police directly to the rest of the gang. Most gang members were arrested within a year. The diamonds were never recovered. One insider turned a perfect heist into a total disaster. September 1997, Los Angeles, California. Alan Pace was a regional safety inspector for Dunbar Armored. He used his access to study every detail of the facility for months. On a Friday night, he let 5 childhood friends inside the building. They overpowered the guards and stole $18.9 million in cash. It was the largest cash robbery in American history at the time. The gang initially escaped completely. No forensic evidence was left. Police had no leads for months after the robbery. Then one gang member began spending money too visibly and too quickly. He bought property, cars, and spent cash recklessly. A tip from a family member eventually led police to Alan Pace. Pace was arrested and convicted. Most of the gang were caught and sentenced to multiple years in prison. Only $6 million of the $18.9 million was ever recovered. The perfect inside job was undone by one person who could not stop spending. Greed that drove the robbery also destroyed every person involved. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for similar ones. Feel free to drop suggestions for the next video in the comments.